Okay. I'm nervous.
Hi, everybody. This is Luann Morris, and I'm here to introduce Deborah Colleen Rose, who is doing an audio biography of her life.
Okay.
So,
I have to tell you,
Deborah, tell us.
I'm real pleased with myself for coming up with that term audio biography. It will break my heart to find out someone else has used that.
You never know.
I know, because I think I'm being witty. So we're at the Crystal Clear Point Studios, and you may actually recognize our cute little faces. We were previously did a podcast during COVID called the Spiritual Neighborhood Network, and we got tired of that crap. And so now we're actually doing another podcast going, we're talking again, watch out. And Dr. Matthew Pierce is a member of that little podcast with us. And so I got a crazy idea. I've had people tell me that I should tell my life story because I tell little snippets on Facebook and social media, and everybody's going, "Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's strange. Oh, that's interesting," and have encouraged me to tell my story. And I've actually had the title, which you saw in the introduction, "I'm no angel, but I've met the devil," for over 10 years, and that's as far as I ever got with the book. And part of it's because I don't really know where to start. And that's weird because I have written over 30 books. It's not that I don't know how to write, I do, but I don't know how to write about me. And the other thing is that what was I saying? Here's the problem. I have had 9 traumatic head injuries or concussions that I know of that I can remember, and it really screws with your memory a little bit. So I'm just going to put this disclaimer out there right off the bat. These may or may not be true.
They may not
Or
be completely true. They're true
yeah,
according to what you remember.
yes, they're my memories. They're how I recall them. And I guess I'm lucky because most of the people in these memories are dead. So I don't have anybody to contradict me.
That's good.
There's always an upside to any situation. And I think that right there, that statement right there is the key to my life story. That if you think about it and look at it and pray about it, there's always an upside to anything that happens to you. And you can either
Mhm.
wallow in the mud or you can stretch your arms out to heaven trying to reach that level. Oh, look, this drives me nuts. Did you know that if you raise your hand like this, Zoom will put a hand little icon at the bottom of the screen?
I did not know that.
Something new every day. So, you know my name, right? Tell them my name.
Deborah Colleen Rose, I already introduced you.
And Luann is here not because she knows my life story, but she's her job and my husband's job, because they're going to trade off on doing the moderation of this thing, is to kind of keep me on track because I
Right.
can go down rabbit holes. If you've watched our other podcasts, you have seen me go down rabbit holes real quick. But basically, let's just start at the beginning. I was born in Arkansas. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. I was born in Texas on the Texas side of Texarkana, but we lived on the Arkansas side. So I'm really a Texan by birth. I lived in Arkansas the first 11 years of my life. Um, I just realized going through some old family photos last week that it's kind of ironic that I picked that name for my book. I'm no angel, but I've met the devil, because my very first dog, when I was a toddler, I have no memory of this, but I have pictures. And there I am as a toddler waddling all over this dog and just waddling all over him. He's just so precious and just putting up with me. He was a black Cocker Spaniel mix, and his name was Devil. Now, who the hell names their dog Devil? Seriously.
Your dad, your mom,
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah. No, it was my dad. It had to be my dad. I don't know. Maybe it was my mom. I don't know. I guess I should ask. Well, one of them's still alive. So I just
If
thought that
you
was kind of, I thought that was kind of telling. Um, I'm the oldest of 3 children. My dad was a police officer on the Arkansas side of town. My uncle Buddy was a police officer on the Texas side of town. And my grandfather was captain of the fire department on the Texas side. So I grew up being very aware of civil service. And My family was not wealthy, but they were well known. And it is my understanding that they were also very powerful under the scenes, that the Rose name carried a lot of clout. And I believe that to be true because I grew up not with a sense of entitlement. I don't think, I may be wrong, but I grew up with a sense of confidence of I'm a Rose and I expect to be treated with respect and dignity because everywhere we went, people knew us, they recognized us, they would give us little tokens and gifts and things like that. So it's not surprising that my love language is gifts. I mean, you could bring me a rock. Literally, I love rocks. You could bring me a rock, go, here's a rock. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so great. No one's brought me a clump of dirt yet. I don't think I would appreciate that. I might. It depends on where it's from. If there's a story behind it. I love anything with a story behind it. So I don't know where to go now. Where should I start?
Well, your life changed. Your parents separated, and you went to where?
Dallas, Garland, actually, Garland. So I think if you understand a lot of my family dynamic, I make a lot more sense. So, I just recently found out during COVID. I knew my parents had been married, got divorced, and they got married again, and then I was born. Okay. What I didn't know is my parents got married. They got divorced. They were separated and divorced for almost 5 years. And then they got married again in March, and I was born in May. So my question is that does that make me legitimate or does that make me a bastard? I'm not talking about
No.
legally, the other stuff.
Yeah, you were born when they were married, so you're not a bastard.
And what was interesting to me is that the question of my lineage should have been at the forefront of at least the Rose side of the family, you know? Because they were on again, off again during that 5 year period. I know that much to be true from things that both of them have said to me over the years. But no one ever intimated or even hinted that I might not be biologically a Rose until the last 10 years of my dad's life. And he and I had a very volatile up and down relationship. And he would say things like, well, I don't even know if you're my child. I mean, and that was very hurtful, because I didn't know what he was talking about because I didn't have that little piece of information at the time.
Yeah, there you
So,
go.
so I opened up a whole can of worms because I went and did a DNA test on ancestry.com, and there was a connection between me and my uncle, his younger brother's son, who had done a DNA test, and we were 99.8% connected. Okay, so we were almost siblings by DNA. It was so
Yeah.
strong. So that proved that I was a Rose. So that put my mind at ease just because I don't like not knowing things. If I wasn't a Rose, I wouldn't care. But it would definitely screw with my identity, emotionally.
Mhm.
And but what got me in trouble with my dad and the rest of the Roses that were still alive is that the DNA did not support that we were Native American on any level. And my dad has said for years that his mother was full-blood Indian, but nothing supported that.
Well, I let me interject that my grandmother was 50%, and her mother was, or I guess she was what, 75? I don't know. Um, her mother was 100%, and then
Well,
my
yeah,
grandmother.
50, yeah.
So my cousins had the DNA test. They're biologically her grandchildren, and there's no Native American in their DNA.
Well, I found out since then that they don't have a specific test for Native American DNA because there's so many
Oh.
tribes and you can
Mhm.
get that more narrowed down, but I don't know how to do it. So, but for whatever reason, that just pissed my dad and uncle off, no end. And so again, he and I having this very volatile up and down relationship, um, did not help. This did not help the relationship.
Oh,
Um, I have two theories on why my father and I had problems. One, um, I think that he never got over my parents' divorce. And so I was someone that he could easily take out his frustration on because he wasn't close to either of my brothers. And my oldest brother, who was younger than me, but the older of the two brothers, committed suicide in 1990, maybe. I don't know. So it was just me and my other brother, and he wasn't close to my other brother much. And where was I going with this? And then the other thing is that, and I've always thought this was weird, okay, because I've always was really proud of my dad because my parents divorced in 70. Yes, I'm 65 years old. Okay, let's just get that off this table. I was born in 1958. And he actually sued for custody of me and my two brothers. And that was unheard of in the 70s, especially in the South, maybe not in other parts of the country. But it was my understanding that he was one of the first men in the country to really actually go for full custody, exclusive custody legally. And the judge took me back in his chambers by himself, by myself, and asked me where I wanted to live. Well, I wanted to live with my dad. I was a daddy's girl. But my brothers were so young, I just kind of felt like that they needed to be with my mom. And I told the judge that. I said, I want to stay here. I want to stay in Texarkana. I want to stay with my dad. My brothers are too young. They'd have to be in daycare, things like that. So they need to go with my mom. He goes, no, I'm not splitting you kids up. You've got to pick. So I picked my mom because I thought that was in the best interest of my brothers. Now, looking back, I'm a little pleased with myself because I think that was a great show of empathy at a young age. But I think that my dad saw it as a decision of betrayal. And while it didn't come up much in discussion, I think later on he harbored a lot of anger toward me because of that. Does that make sense?
yes. Yes, it does.
So
Because, but I'm confused why the judge took your whole word and that was law.
I don't know. I've often, because being a private investigator now and a trained certified paralegal and working in the legal system now for 30 years, I'm like, where the hell did that come from? I don't think I mean, on one hand, I think it was quite wise to consider the children's input, because that was kind of unheard of at that time. Children were to be seen and not heard. But at the same time, he put me in an awful, awful position. And, because I really didn't want to come to Dallas. I did not like my potential stepfather much. And I didn't trust him. And it turned out to be even worse after they got married. He did not like me. Can you imagine that? I'm such a likable person. And I was an adorable child. And I was very well mannered. But when
Too
I came
precocious?
here, I was very precocious. I was very intelligent. They wanted to move me up in school, several grades, that type of thing. But when I got here, rage went, wow. And it manifested in a lot of different ways. Because deep down, I was still a person who believed in being respectful and not speaking my mind because I was a child, but I learned the art of sarcasm. And boy, did that get me into a lot of trouble. I was in trouble all the time
Yeah.
with my mouth. My nickname in high school is Mouth of the South.
Well, that's what gets me in trouble is I don't know who taught me this sarcasm. Maybe it was genetic, but it got me in a lot of trouble in a lot of places.
Well, sarcasm is a huge gift because it's a sign of intelligence. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I am not going to deny I am an intelligent person, whether you know it or not. I know I am. And it's a way of looking at things outside of the box and seeing things from a different perspective without letting it affect you personally. So sarcasm has a great role in our lives, but it should be used for good, not evil. Not to tear other people down, but to maybe to get them to transition to look at things differently. It is a coarse way of reframing life for other people, I guess, for lack of a better word. So, um, I want to keep these things short, so I'm just going to close with as I was going with through the pictures the other day, I found a picture of me as a toddler, another picture of me as a toddler, and I'm standing up in this wooden high chair, and I'm wearing a little cowgirl skirt and little cowgirl boots. I didn't they had to have been like this big, and little cowgirl shirt with the fringe around the yoke and around the edge of the skirt. And I just thought, well, that's really ironic because all I wanted to be when I grew up was a cowgirl. I always wanted to be a cowgirl. And as silly as that sounds, let me explain this to you. To me, being a cowgirl was freedom. And as a girl, that was the thing that really chafed against me growing up in the 60s and 70s was the lack of freedom that women had. I felt it even then. I knew what it looked like. I saw it in my own family, how women would acquiesce outwardly and then rebel, you know, and passive aggressiveness started as a way of rebelling when you had no power.
Right.
That's just and I didn't want to be like that. I wanted freedom. I wanted to be outdoors. I wanted to know my own truth. I wanted to be around animals. I wanted to be able to have the freedom to do what men did if I wanted to do it, but not be forced to do that. And I did not want to spend a life in the kitchen. Did not. And what is really ironic, here's my closing thought, is that I wanted children, but I never wanted to be married. And yet I wound up being married 5 times.
Yeah, that's ironic.
Uh, well, ironic, stupid, foolish, I don't know. You label it. I don't have one. But I got something really extraordinary out of each relationship. Um, I would not say that I had good marriages until my last one. And even then, we've been married 27 years. Of course, like anybody else, we've had our ups and downs,
Of course.
but it's been an extraordinary ride. And I was cougar before cougar was cool because my husband's 12 years younger than me. I was in my early 30s, had 2 children. He'd never been married, only had one really, truly serious relationship, and looked like a friggin' baby at our wedding pictures. I don't ever post them because it's kind of sad. It's really sad because he looks like he's 12, not 12 years younger, 12. You've seen it, right?
Yes, yes, I
It's
have.
bad, isn't it? It's
Yes, he
bad.
looks very young. Yeah, he does
And
not
I
look
look
like he's in his late 20s.
And I do not look old, but I look very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very wise from experience. Let's put it that way. So, I mean, there's no doubt that there is a huge age gap. Now, God is good. God is great because Scott now looks as old as I do.
Yeah, okay, he caught up.
He is caught up. In fact, on a bad day, some might even say he might look a little older than me because he doesn't dye his hair. So,
Yeah, they used to say that about my husband too.
yeah. Well, you know what? I think that there's a inner beauty that comes out from women that have had a lot of experiences that they've been able to reframe in a positive way, and that our
Mm.
inner light just comes out that way. And I'm just going to keep telling myself that. So,
Well, you do because everything you experience is what? A learning experience.
yeah, and
It's not bad.
I keep telling myself. But one of the reasons why I'm going to continue doing this is that it's helping my memory. I'm going through a TKM treatment session of 10 sessions, which is an interesting thing. We'll talk about that later on to help me with my memory. But the real reason is that I think the reason I've had the life that I've had is not because I've made stupid mistakes, but God has given me opportunities to experience a lot of things to help me
Mhm.
be able to relate to people and maybe
I
give
believe
them
that.
support or guidance, or at least be able to listen to them and go, I get that, Sometimes you just need someone to go, I get that, you know.
Well, I think just from today, what I would like to hear more about is your time with your dad, grandpa, and your other grandfather because of their positions. They were in the police force and the fire department. What was your experience with them?
I
That might,
loved my dad's dad. We called him Granddaddy. And I'm a lot like him in from what I can remember with the sarcasm, the funny jokes. Uh, I overwhelm people, and my grandchildren have come to me and said, "You've got to back off, May." uh, because I pick at him a lot and stuff. And to
Mhm.
me, that was a love language. I loved my granddaddy picking at me because that meant that I got attention that the other grandkids weren't getting. Um, I was intrigued by my mom's father, my grandpa, and um, it's really hard for me to reconcile how I felt about my dad as a child and then how we had a relationship as adults. It okay, Deb, it's okay. It was heartbreaking
Mhm. As you
because
grew up.
I really was a daddy's girl. And um we'll talk more about that later, because
Okay.
that's a very complex relationship, very
Yeah.
complex.
So
So,
write that down where you can start next time.
oh God, where's my pen and paper? Now where am I starting next time?
Next time you're starting with your relationship with your dad, his dad, and your mom's dad.
All right. All right. So, um, I'll leave you with one of my granddad's jokes. He cracked me up. So he was out painting the outside of the house one day, and all these little gnats are flying around his face, and he's swatting at them, and I'm handing him paint and handing him this and that and stuff, and standing on the ground. And he looks at me, he goes, Deb, you know how to keep gnats from flying around your face? I said, no, granddaddy. I was about 7. He goes, cut a hole in your britches and fart. I don't know why I think that's funny, but I
Because it's one of those dad jokes that's just funny.
it is. It really is. So, if you're watching this, thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with us. I hope you found something amusing about this. And this is episode 1 of how many to come. We don't know. Whenever I get tired of it, I guess. So, thanks for being my moderator, Luann, and I'll see you
No
soon.
problem. I had a good
Uh,
time.
thanks.
Bye for now.